Hey, Gunnar, how are you doing?
Hey, good morning. How are you? Doing well.
Good. It's almost the end of the month. Christmas is behind us, and we're headed into the new year. So I'm excited to talk a little bit about it. What is the status over there in the lending world? What's going on? Where's our interest
Things
rate
are
at?
things are looking good. Rates right now are hovering around 6.25 to 6.5. So that's definitely better than the 7.5 that it was. Rates are trending down. Home prices are holding to a capacity of sustainability for to 2023. Um, and then the exciting thing that drives that interest rate right now, one of the big factors is that CPI report. You've heard me talk about it before. We've talked about it together. Last time that came out, rates went from 7.5 to 6.5. I'm not saying it's going to swing that much again, but the next report comes out on January 12th. So that'll be a big day for us to kind of see, fresh in the new year, what's going to happen with rates.
Okay, so people watch this video can be more or less rest assured that the interest rate is going to sit at 6.25, 6.5 right now. We shouldn't see that shift up or down until January 12th when it might fluctuate again or it might stay the same.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, so I think to recap everything that's kind of we've talked about through our kind of Zoom footage this year is most importantly when it comes to lending for people, it's working on their credit score and reducing their debts. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, so if you're wanting to buy a home in 2023, there's a couple things with your credit that needs to happen. The first is you need to be using it, right? Credit's like a muscle. You need to work that out, otherwise it's not going to grow. You don't start with bad credit, you start with no credit. So that's a common misconception there. It's just I just won't use it, and we want to make sure you are using it. The second most important thing is use it wisely. So if you have a $200,000 credit limit on one specific card, don't charge more than $200 on it without paying it off, right? You want to keep that percentage at 10 to 20 to 30%. 30% is really the cap there.
Yeah.
Um, but that's the utilization you want to use, and use that for any card. So if you have a card that you use all the time, I see this with a lot of first-time home buyers. They have a card that they've had forever, is like the first credit card they got, and the credit limits on it is like $500, and they're spending $500 on it every month. There's nothing wrong with spending $500 every month. It's just you're on the credit side of things. It looks like you're maxing out your card every month. So what
Right.
that person would want to do is you would want to go apply for a credit increase, a credit line increase on that card. That way you can still spend $500, but make sure that that $500 isn't 10, 20, 30% of the credit limit. So
Right. Or just
that's
get
where I
a
would
Capital
start.
One card. I love my Capital One card and I pay it off every time I use it and I never have to think about that and I don't play any games with it. I don't like I know there's a lot of algorithms out there, but I just pay it off every time I use it and my credit has gone up sky loads. So I'm in the 700s now where I had the no credit that you're talking about before.
Mhm.
So okay, awesome. Quickly, I'm seeing a lot of my buyers ask for their closing costs to be covered.
Yep.
I sold a house, we covered their closing costs. Are you seeing that on the lending side more? I mean, obviously more frequently, but are you seeing it quite a bit?
Almost on every single deal.
Okay.
Um, I've got, I closed 5 transactions this month. 3 of them had seller credits on them to cover closing costs or to use the money for a rate buy down. So that'd be using the seller's money to buy your own interest rate down. So you could theoretically take that rate from 6.5 to 4.875 is the
Yeah,
lowest I've done recently. Um, I've got 8 contracts signed for January, which is good. That shows the momentum's picking up,
yeah.
especially since it's the first of the year. I mean, that's huge. And majority of those, specifically the 2 that I got, well, I got one last night, and I'm getting one today. Both with hefty. One's with 3% seller credits on it. The other is with 4% seller credits. And when I say 4%, that's 4% of the purchase price.
Wow.
Um, so
So
big
for
things.
sellers out there, so future sellers out there should expect to have a more balanced market when it comes to negotiations. And buyers out there should not be scared away by the market. They should know that there's now a balance, and buyers are able to either get closing costs covered or their interest rate covered. or all that. I
I
mean, that's
think I
awesome because
think the
that is what
important
I'm
part.
seeing.
Go ahead.
That's just what I'm seeing, but it's you have a lot more volume because you're seeing lots of different realtors. So that's
Right.
good for me to that's good information for me.
Yeah, and I think it's just really important to kind of set our buyers' mentality up front. Our buyers and sellers, right? We need to make everyone understand that this is now back to what a normal market should look like. You should typically get seller credits on a deal, like a transaction, if you're a buyer, right? Houses should go for list price or under, not over list price, typically, right? That is a normal market. That does not mean the seller's getting screwed. That doesn't mean the buyer can come in. We have right now, there's a readjustment phase where buyers think that it's 2006, right? You can go 2006, 2008, right? You can come in $60,000 under list and get it. That's not accurate, right? And then we have sellers who think it's 2022 and they can list the house for $60,000 more than what it's worth, and they'll get 20 offers, and then
Right.
it'll go for $80,000 more than what it listed at.
Right.
Right. So that's the
Yeah.
readjustment phase that we really want to make sure we're getting out in front of buyers. Like this is back to normal. Yes, rates are still a little bit high, but the seller credits can get you down into a point where you don't have to. That's not a refinancing loan, right? That's not a. We can get you down in the fives, 5.875, 5.5. The chance of you having to refinance that later are slim to none.
Right. That's very good. And I agree with you. It's all about communication and just we don't set the norms. Realtors don't set the norms. Lenders don't set the norms. The
Right.
people do. And this is what the people are kind of established right now. Home values are remaining because buyers are willing to pay if it's a nice house that's been kept. That's my opinion on list price. If a house looks good, it has been well kept and is updated and maintained, you can get list price. If it needs work, people are going to go under list price. And then, like you said, sellers need to realize that they're going to have to give a little to get the transaction done, and that's totally fair.
Yeah, and normal. I mean, and historically,
Yeah.
that's as is, right? So I'm
Listen,
excited. I think 2023 is going to be a big year for everyone. Lots of buyers are going to be able to take opportunities, and sellers as well. I mean, I think it's Jacksonville. Like I said, we've been in this. It's kind of like when you're in college, right? And any buyers or sellers that are watching this, I know they're also watching the media, and they're seeing home prices drop or this or that. There's an Instagram account called the Market Distillery, and
right.
it takes ads like that. It takes any news post like that. And it kind of picks apart some of the stuff. So it's cool to see like what actual data goes into it. And I would just go as far to say that to wrap up everything, that Jacksonville, if we're in college, right, and we everyone fails the test, right, and the teacher's going to grade on a curve. Jacksonville, in the midst of all the states and cities, is the one person in the class that gets an A and screws up the curve, right? Like we're in that area where home values are holding, even with the current market that we're in. It's because we've got so much demand here, which is really cool and really reassuring for anybody buying or selling in the Jacksonville market.
Yeah. And we're here for it, which is crazy.
Yeah,
We've,
absolutely.
we've been through so much in our time here in Jacksonville, and now we're here for this awesome experience too. So I agree with you. We're lucky to be in Jacksonville, Florida. Well, thanks for talking to me. I hope you have a happy new year and go Jags.
Go Jags.